So hi everyone, welcome to the noon, excuse me, the noon mindfulness session. This is the last one scheduled for this series of Wednesday noon sessions through Alumni Affairs. My name is Marvin G. Belzer from the UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center. We do have ongoing programs. We have a free app called UCLA Mindful. If you Google UCLA Mindfulness, our center pops up right there. And I'm hoping we'll be able to collaborate more with the Alumni Affairs, which has been a real joy over these weeks. So we did a series. I did some of them. My colleague Diana Winston led some of them, just around the basics of mindfulness, how we practice loving kindness meditation. Diana led a session on a very simple sort of practice where we just open our awareness. Last week we talked a little bit about relational mindfulness, practicing mindfulness with other people. And so we will do a meditation again today. But as we begin, I will just talk for a few minutes about the role of our intentions when we meditate. And so it's an interesting area because obviously we're using our thoughts to show up here, right? Just to put it on your schedule, to remember, to click, to be here. It involves thinking and planning. And even when we meditate, we use our minds, right? There is a method to try. There are actually dozens of methods of meditation. It's a very interesting field. It is something that, if you're interested, I'm happy to be in touch with you about and would be covered in our classes. There are dozens of types of meditation. Most of them begin with this simple action of focusing our attention on something relatively simple, like the ambient sounds, the feel of the breath, and so forth. So we'll do that in a few minutes. I'll guide you in it. In mindfulness practice, we also include whatever interrupts. And this can take some getting used to, because most of us would be here because we want things to be easier. We want more peace. We want some relief from anxiety and stress and grief and very common emotions, perhaps heightened these days. In many cases, definitely heightened. And I can speak with confidence that these methods can be helpful, but the process is actually allowing ourselves to feel what's happening. And so this is where we don't think our way out of it, right? We use thoughts to help remember what we're doing, but what we try to remember is just tune into the feel of it in our bodies. And so we do use thoughts in meditation, but we also remember just to keep it simple. And so this is where we practice. It can take some practice. It's not real complicated, but it definitely can be work. It takes some effort. Likewise, the role of intentions as to why we're here also can be an area where we bring mindfulness. And there are different things to say about it. One very traditional sort of intention or aspiration in Buddhist circles would be to wake up for the benefit of all beings. So it's a so-called bodhisattva vow. And of course, here at UCLA, we teach mindfulness in a non-religious way. We're not looking for kind of religious devotion and so forth, but there's certainly a tremendous amount of wisdom in lots of different traditions. And I would say that this is a part of a traditional Buddhist practice that might be of interest to some of you. Just like setting an intention, like, okay, why am I here? Why am I interested in meditation? And often we do want to wake up, right? In some way. We want to have some relief from suffering, right? And of course, that process involves becoming more familiar with what the suffering is, what is actually going on, and so forth. And again, with confidence, I can teach that there is reason for hope, that actually these very simple methods can help us. But most of us also, if we look at it, we're not just interested in ourselves and our own suffering, right? We're interested in the wider world. And so that traditional sort of bodhisattva vow can actually resonate that, yeah, I know my reach is limited, right? The world is complex. There's relatively little I can do in the big picture, but I can do some things. And I can hope that my mind could develop, my heart could open in ways that actually would be beneficial in the big picture. And so, we're living in a time of, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's not clear what's happening. It may be getting worse. And so much uncertainty and chaos. Likewise, we're living in a period of time in the United States of America. And I realize we have people in this room from other places, but there are parallel issues where issues of social justice, racial justice are in the foreground. And in my own practice, going back 30 years, by the way, it's my birthday. So I'm going to shut up and we're going to meditate, but maybe it's my birthday. So I'm 68 today. I did not expect life to be so interesting at 68. And I also did not quite expect to be presented with such opportunities for growth and so forth. And so one way in which I see myself is sort of prepared to grow, to be humble, to like become more sensitive to what life is like for other people. It segues right into my own meditation practice. And so thank you for the happy birthday wishes. So Black Lives Matter. And our practice can be oriented to like being open to growth, where we need to grow, where we need to be more aware of what assumptions we've made that are false, or what life is actually like for others, and of the kind of the wider society that we're in, where there is reason to put the focus on this issue of racial justice and hope for change. My own practice does go back 30 years. Just 2 more minutes. It's my birthday, but I'm not going to lecture the whole time. I started meditating when I was a grad student in philosophy. I lived in Helsinki for a while, working in logic with some logicians over there. In the early 80s, it was a time of, those of you who are my age will remember, it was an unsettled time with the USSR and the US stacking up intermediate range missiles in Eastern and Western Europe. And as an American living in Finland, it was a time of taking responsibility. And one of the reasons I looked into meditation was this question of, wow, is there a way to work with my own mind so that I have more calmness and clarity, even in the midst of the chaos and the confusion and the anger and the need for change? And this is a question that has come up again and again over the years relative to differing issues, and it renews itself. And in my experience, continually renews itself with the answer, yes. There are ways of cultivating calmness, but not complacency. There are ways of cultivating compassion and peace, even while fighting. And so this is the spirit in which I teach this morning. So let's, I managed to keep it 10 minutes. That's not bad. Let's meditate together. And I invite you as we begin to see what comes to mind. Maybe it won't. This is very personal. The whole thing is very personal. But what intention or wish or aspiration comes to mind for you right now? What has brought you here? And it might be very down to earth, like I want to manage my pain better, my physical pain. I want to manage this anxiety and this fear better. And that's respectable. That's a great aspiration. And even as we tune into that, we may notice that, Yeah, but it also resonates with the wider suffering. And sometimes it's hard to disentangle what's my suffering, where does my wish to change kind of connect with the need for change. So this can help us be serious. It can help us practice, even though as we practice, we make some effort, but it's a more of a receptive effort. So just as we begin, just open your attention to the sounds you can hear. So whatever thoughts, maybe emotions are present, we don't squelch them, but just notice what you can hear for this minute. It might be a few sounds from my laptop, some sounds from your environment. Whatever our intention, whatever our hopes, the effort we make now is for these minutes is relatively simple. We're not trying to figure things out so much as just use our ability to direct our attention to something really accessible. We don't try to hear everything. We don't have to keep track, just noticing. And then when you wish, letting your attention settle into your body. Kind of the same spirit of just noticing feet, legs, torso, shoulders, head, arms, hands. Again, not trying to make something happen, just giving ourselves this permission to let things be relatively simple, using our attention to just feel into our bodies, vibration, pressure, softness. And then here's where the breath is pretty good for most people. Just the feel of the breath in the abdomen, the chest, or at your nose. Just knowing when your in-breath begins, when your out-breath begins. So it can be surprising if you're new to this, it can be surprising how accessible this is. And it's not, if it seems too easy, it's actually this easy, really. We just let our attention rest somewhere, knowing when the in-breath begins based on some sensations. The reason we do this is this mental activity, focusing and sustaining attention with something relatively simple, actually is a way to cultivate more calmness, stability, peace. So we don't have to micromanage it. We don't have to change our experience. Just in the midst of whatever is happening, direct our attention. There may well be things going on that you don't like. It's part of normal daily life. There will be times where you'll realize that you've been drawn in to thinking over your to-do list, worrying about something, and so forth. Very normal. Just include that in the meditation, that recognition, thinking, planning. Often there will be emotion too. So that recognition of anxiety, fear, excitement, grief, just include it. What does it feel like? Can you feel anything in your body? Often your torso is where we give it the attention. Then whenever you wish, whenever you can, shifting back to the breath, just the feel of the breath. remembering we don't have to try to make something happen, even when we do have aspirations and hopes for this activity in our own lives. We don't ever try to make something happen. So we don't have to squelch any thoughts. We don't have to micromanage our emotions. We don't have to try to make the world change around us by sheer willpower. We have a lot of permission just to be receptive to our experience. And it turns out this is quite valuable, both that shifting attention to something relatively simple and neutral, like the feel of the breath somewhere. It can seem utterly ridiculous to do this because we don't need to do this to get other things done. And so it is a practice. It takes some effort just to gently, patiently reconnect this breath now. And by definition, we can't do it all at once. So it's not a huge burst of effort, like as if we were moving a piano, right? It takes kind of that patient willingness just to stay with it. And then equally, to actually be receptive to our experience, especially when it is somewhat challenging, it can be hard. And so we are really gentle here. Just that recognition, especially with emotions, that unsettledness, that anxiety, that fear, and so forth. Just that recognition, the feel of it in your body, allowing it to be there, not trying to push or change, even while you might recognize the wish that it were different. So we're just taking a look, giving ourselves this permission to be present with our own experience without trying to perform or change. When you can, reconnect with the breath, but there's not a rush. And then for the last 2 or 3 minutes, if you wish, you may not want to, um, but if you wish, we can do a little bit of kindness practice where we bring someone to mind whom we find it easy to appreciate. If you're content just staying with the breath, don't don't try to shift. Just let it be there. Maybe gesture a little bit with the suggestions I give. Can be a nice way to complement and end a meditation period, but it's very personal. If someone's coming to mind, if several are coming to mind, just choosing one for the moment. Just focus on this person. It might be a non-human animal, a being you appreciate. You might imagine them, maybe a memory of seeing them, or if they're in the room, you might even open your eyes and look at them. Notice what you appreciate about them. Maybe a few words come to mind. So this type of meditation, we use thoughts and images. We're playful. We're just turning our attention to the goodness in a being. We're not playing make-believe here either, but just we're turning our attention to their goodness, appreciating that goodness, letting that appreciation have its effect in us. And it can be a sort of non-trivial sort of effect. Might offer a few wishes with this person in mind. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. If you're just repeating those. So this is a serious practice, but we actually can be really playful with it and creative. So since it's my birthday, notice something you appreciate about me. If it's utterly nothing, don't try. If something comes to mind, that's cool. You can wish me the same. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. Thank you.